What does a Power Rangers color actually mean? Let's find out. Red. It started in 1993, and it never really changed. Jason wore red in the original team, and Jason led. That was the rule, and nobody had to say it out loud. Red was the first color your eye found and the last one standing when the fight got ugly. Carter led, Cole led, Wes led. Across 30 years and more teams than most fans can name, the pattern repeated like a law of nature. Red Rangers don't follow, they decide. The color carries authority the way a uniform carries rank, instant and unmistakable. It tells you who answers for the team when everything goes wrong. But every rule in this franchise has an exception, and red, for all its certainty, hides a few of its own. That certainty runs deeper than any other color in the lineup. The Red Ranger doesn't just fight up front, he makes the call, holds the line, and answers for the team when the whole situation collapses. It's less a costume than a job description, handed out before anyone says a word. Jason, Carter, Cole, Wes. In team after team, the pattern repeats with almost mechanical precision. Carter Grayson leads Lightspeed Rescue. Cole Evans leads Wild Force. Wes commands Time Force. Their red suits aren't a color choice, they're a declaration of rank. And through 3 decades of franchise memory, the audience learned to read it instantly. You see red, and before a word is spoken, you know who's in charge. But here's where it gets interesting, because red doesn't always mean the one in command. Take the Psycho Rangers, the Dark Mirror team from In Space. Psycho Red leads that group, but he leads nothing worth leading. He's aggression with no honor, command with no one to protect. The red suit is still there. The leadership instinct is still there, but it's been hollowed into something predatory, a leader of monsters instead of heroes. And there's a quieter complication underneath. Not every Red Ranger actually runs his team. There are seasons where Red fights on the front line but answers to someone else, where the color promises a command it doesn't fully deliver. The franchise leans on red so heavily that when it bends the rule, it barely flinches. Most of the time, though, the color holds. Jason, Carter, Cole, Wes, Jack Landors. The lineage is long, and red lives up to it far more often than not. The job was written into the suit before the actor ever stepped into it. So red means leadership. Red means the one who answers when everything goes wrong. But Psycho Red is proof that the suit can outlast the honor it once stood for, and that wearing the color of command was never the same as deserving it. If red is the color of the one who leads, the next color belongs to the one who thinks. Blue. If red is the color of the one who leads, blue is the color of the one who thinks. And that pattern is almost as old as the franchise itself. Billy Cranston wore blue in the original Mighty Morphin team. And Billy was the brain, the inventor, the one who built the devices and solved the problems the others couldn't punch their way through. He set a template that held for decades. The Blue Ranger is the mind of the team. Billy, Justin, Kai, Tori. Across team after team, blue keeps drifting toward the same role. In Lost Galaxy, Kai Chen is the disciplined tactician, the one obsessed with rules and precision. Justin was the boy genius. In Ninja Storm, Tori Hanley is the calm water at the center of a chaotic team, the one who steadies everyone around her. Their blue suits don't announce themselves the way red does. Blue holds the team together quietly, from the inside. Where red runs at the problem, blue studies it first. That contrast is one of the most consistent dynamics in the entire franchise. The sword and the plan, the will and the mind. Red signals action. Blue signals thought. For 30 years, the two colors have balanced each other on nearly every team that ever morphed. But here's where it gets interesting, because blue doesn't always sit in the second chair. Watch Tori carry the emotional weight of her team and the read shifts. There are seasons where blue is the heart, not the head, the anchor rather than the cold strategist. The color is flexible in a way red simply isn't allowed to be. Red is locked into command. Blue gets to be the genius, the warrior, the peacemaker, sometimes all three depending on who's wearing it. And then there are the rare teams that hand blue the front seat entirely, the responsible one, the moral compass the other's orbit. Same color, completely different center of gravity. That's the quiet truth about blue. It was never given a single job the way red was. It was given a temperament, calm, intelligent, dependable. The water that shapes itself to whatever the team is missing. So blue means the mind. Blue means the one who solves what the leader can't overpower. But unlike red, the color was never locked to one role, which is exactly why it bends so easily from one team to the next. If red and blue are the two colors every team is built around, the next one was always designed to stand a little apart from both. Black. If red leads and blue thinks, black is the color of the one who stands a little apart from both. Zach Taylor wore it first in the original Mighty Morphin team, and Zach was the cool one, the dancer, the loose-limbed fighter who moved differently than everyone around him. He wasn't the leader and he wasn't the brain. He was the one with his own rhythm. That became Black's quiet signature. The independent operator. The team player who never fully blends into the team. Zach, Adam, Carlos. Trace the color across the years and the same temperament keeps surfacing. Adam Park started in black and became one of the most respected veterans in the entire franchise. The quiet one, steady and humble, never loud about what he could do. Carlos carried that same grounded, self-contained energy on his team. Black Rangers tend to be the muscle or the stealth, comfortable working just outside the spotlight that red and blue are always standing in. There's a physicality to black, too. Where blue is the mind and red is the will, black is often the body, the close-range fighter who gets in and does the hard, unglamorous work. The color reads as grounded, earthbound, solid in a way the brighter suits aren't. But here's where it gets interesting, because black doesn't always stay in the background. Watch Adam across his later seasons and the loner becomes a mentor, a leader by example, the experienced hand younger Rangers look up to. The color that started as the outsider's color slowly turned into the elder's color, proof that black could carry weight far beyond the supporting role it was first handed. And there's a deeper wrinkle. On some teams, black and green essentially trade places, two colors circling the same idea, the sixth Ranger energy, the one who doesn't quite fit the core group. The franchise has never been rigid about which of the two carries it. Same instinct, different suit. That's the truth about black. It was never the color of the spotlight, and it never tried to be. Sometimes that makes him the muscle. Sometimes it makes him the mentor. Either way, he's standing slightly outside the formation by choice. So black means independence. Black means the one who belongs to the team without ever being swallowed by it. But if black hides in the edges, the next color hides something most fans have never even noticed. Yellow. On the surface, yellow is the warm color of the team. The heart, the spark, the agile fighter, and the emotional center the others gather around. Trini, Aisha, Tanya. From the first team forward, yellow carried a brightness that balanced the colder colors around it. But yellow hides something almost no casual fan has ever noticed, a secret stitched into the costume itself. Here's where it gets interesting. The American show was built on Japanese footage from Super Sentai, with the suits and action scenes borrowed wholesale and new American scenes filmed around them. And in the original Japanese team that footage came from, the Yellow Ranger was a man. So when Trini was cast as Mighty Morphin's Yellow Ranger, the production hit a problem buried in the suit. The borrowed action footage showed a Yellow Ranger with no skirt, a flat male costume, because the original wearer was male. Watch the early episodes closely and you can see it. The Pink Ranger has a skirt on her suit. The Yellow Ranger doesn't. For an entire generation, a female character fought in a costume originally built for a man, and the seam was hiding in plain sight the whole time. It's one of the strangest design ghosts in the franchise, a costume that quietly contradicted the person inside it. That detail changed how yellow was understood. What looked like a simple, bright, feminine color was carrying a buried history, a hand-me-down identity from another country and another body. Yellow wasn't designed for the person wearing it. It was inherited. Later teams slowly rewrote that. As the years went on, yellow became one of the most defined colors in the lineup. Agility, warmth, emotional intelligence, the glue that holds a fracturing team together. Aisha brought fire and loyalty. Tanya brought confidence. The color grew into something it was never originally tailored for, and it did it by being reclaimed rather than designed. So yellow means heart. Yellow means the warm center that keeps a cold team human. But it's also proof that a color's meaning isn't always built on purpose. Sometimes it's assembled out of borrowed parts and accidents of production, and the symbol grows up around the seam. Compare that to the next color, which spent 30 years fighting a reputation it never actually deserved. Pink. Pink is the most underestimated color in the franchise, and it has spent 30 years fighting a reputation it never deserved. On the surface, pink reads as the soft one. The pretty color, the gentle teammate, the one you'd expect to stand at the back. Kimberly Hart wore it first in the original Mighty Morphin team, and from a distance, she looked like exactly that, the cheerful gymnast, the bright splash of color on the team. But look closer, and that red falls apart almost immediately. Kimberly was one of the most capable fighters on her team. Her gymnastic precision made her one of the most agile Rangers in the lineup, the one who could flip through a fight and land strikes nobody else could reach. The Pink Ranger wasn't there to be protected. She was there because she could fight. Kimberly, Cassie, Jen trace pink across the years, and the same pattern keeps repeating: agility, precision, and a quiet refusal to be the weak link everyone assumed. Cassie ran toward danger when others froze. And then there's the case that breaks the assumption entirely. Jen Scott's. In Time Force, the Pink Ranger isn't the support or the back of the formation teammate. Jen is the leader, the commanding officer, the one the rest of the team, including the Red Ranger, answers to. She leads a squad of trained officers from the future, and she does it with a hard, disciplined edge that has nothing to do with the soft image Pink had carried for years. Sit with that for a second. The color everyone assumed was the gentlest in the lineup was handed full command, and not as a one-episode gimmick. Jen led from the front for the entire series. The Pink Ranger outranked the red one. That's the quiet power of pink. The softness was a costume, never the substance. Underneath the bright shade was almost always agility, nerve, and, in Jen's case, outright command. The franchise spent years letting the audience underestimate the color, then use that assumption against them. So pink means grace. Pink means precision and a fierceness the costume was practically designed to hide. But Jen Scott's is proof that the color could lead an entire team, and that the gentlest shade in the lineup was hiding the hardest edge. And if pink was the color the audience misjudged, the next one was the color that started as the enemy. Green. Green is the most loaded color in the franchise, and unlike every other color, it didn't start on the team. It started as the enemy. In 1993, the evil witch Rita Repulsa needed a weapon to destroy the Power Rangers, so she built one. She took a teenager named Tommy Oliver, placed him under a spell, and made him the Green Ranger. He wasn't a hero who fell. He was designed from the start to be the villain, a sixth Ranger created specifically to break the other five. And he nearly did. The arc that introduced him is the most famous in the franchise's history, the one every long-term fan still points to. Under Rita's control, the Green Ranger infiltrated the team's command center, sabotaged it from the inside, and beat the Rangers so badly that for the first time the heroes looked like they might actually lose. Green wasn't a color of support. It was the color of the threat that almost ended everything. And then came the turn. The spell breaks. Tommy fights free of Rita's control, and in the moment he chooses his own side, the Green Ranger stops being a weapon and becomes the team's greatest ally. No long negotiation, no redemption dragged across a season. He simply chooses, and the entire meaning of his color flips with him. The threat becomes the protector, and through 30 years of franchise memory, everyone who watched it knows exactly what that turn meant. It's arguably the most earned transformation in the entire franchise, but Green's story doesn't end with redemption. It ends with loss. Rita had built the Green Ranger's powers to fail, and they did. His connection to the green power began to drain, his strength flickering in and out until the powers gave out completely and Tommy lost them. The most powerful Ranger on the team had been handed a color that was quietly dying from the moment he put it on. Green gave him everything and was engineered to take it all back. That's what makes green the deepest color in the lineup. It carries the whole arc inside a single shade: villain, hero, and casualty. Other Green Rangers came later, and the color kept echoing that original energy: the rival, the outsider, the one who arrives from the wrong side before becoming essential. So green means the enemy who became the hero. Green means the rival who turned into the team's beating heart. But it also means impermanence, a power built to fade, proof that the most earned redemption in the franchise came wearing a color that was always running out of time. And when the green powers finally died, what replaced them wasn't another fall. It was a resurrection. White. If green was the color that died, white was the color that brought its bearer back. When the green powers failed, the story didn't retire Tommy, it resurrected him. He returned as the White Ranger, and this time the color meant something the franchise had never quite assigned before. Not leadership the way red was, not intelligence the way blue was. White meant ascension, the chosen one, the upgrade. Picture the contrast. The Green Ranger had spent his final months watching his power flicker and die. The White Ranger walked back onto the team stronger than he had ever been, handed a new power, a talking sword, and command of the team itself. The Green Ranger had been Rita's weapon. The White Ranger was the hero's resurrection, a clean slate burning bright where the old powers had failed. And the color carried that meaning forward. White tends to mark the Ranger who outranks the original lineup, the purer, higher-tier version of everything the team already had. It's the color of the leader who arrives already elevated, with a little more power and a little more light than the core team around him. Where green was the rival who fought his way in from the side, white was the figure who returned from above. But here's where it gets interesting, because white isn't always pure. The color reads as light, as goodness, as the clean upgrade, and the franchise has used that exact assumption against the audience. There are White Rangers who weren't heroes at all, characters who wore the brightest color in the lineup while serving darker ends, the purity of the suit working as a disguise rather than a confession. White looks like the safest color on any team. It tells you this one is good, this one is above the fight. But that brightness can be a mask worn by someone who stopped deserving it. That's the quiet contradiction inside white. Most of the time, it's the resurrection color, the upgrade, proof that a fallen ranger can return higher than before. But the same shade that signals purity can just as easily hide its absence. So white means ascension. White means the chosen one who returns elevated above the team he once fought beside. But like blue worn by a traitor or red worn by a psycho, white is proof that the brightest color in the lineup can lie, and that light in this franchise was never a guarantee of good. There's one last group of colors, though, that never really belonged to any team at all. Gold. Gold and silver are the colors that never really belong to any team. While every other color is built into the core lineup from the start, gold and silver almost always arrive from somewhere else. They're the outsiders, the extra power that walks in from off the board, the ally nobody saw coming. That's the defining trait. The Gold or Silver Ranger is rarely one of the original group. He shows up midway through, often a stranger, sometimes from another world entirely, carrying power the core team simply doesn't have. The color marks distance. It says this one came from outside your war. Look at the Gold Ranger of Zeo. The powers belong to Trey, an alien prince from a distant world who eventually passed them to Jason, the franchise's very first Red Ranger. Even the handoff tells you something. Gold isn't a starting color, it's a power that travels, carried in from elsewhere and handed to whoever is strong enough to hold it, and silver follows the same pattern. Zane, the Silver Ranger of InSpace, spent years frozen in stasis before rejoining the fight, a teammate who existed slightly apart from the team's own timeline, returning as the wild card with abilities the others couldn't match. There's a power tier built into these colors too. Gold and silver usually signal the strongest ranger on the field, the heavy hitter brought in to tip a losing fight. They don't fill out the formation the way red, blue, black, yellow, and pink do. They break it open. The 5 core colors are a team. Gold and silver are the reinforcement that arrives when the team alone isn't enough, and that's the quiet truth running underneath all of it. These colors carry an energy the core lineup never could, the sense of someone who answers to a different code, who fights alongside the team without ever fully being absorbed into it. Some integrated completely over time. Others stayed apart to the end. But the color always whispered the same thing. I don't belong to any of you. I just chose to fight on your side. So that's the system. Red leads and blue thinks. Black stands apart and yellow carries a buried history. Pink hides its fierceness. Green turns from enemy to hero, and white returns elevated above them all. And gold and silver arrive from outside the whole thing. The outsiders who tipped the war. 30 years of color, and almost none of it was an accident. Which Ranger color do you find most interesting? Drop it in the comments.